I'm Peter Yarrow, or Peter Molinari, sometimes known as Puff the Magic Dragon, and I'm hiding the great face of Rabbi Doug. Watch him.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about
Shalom,
Doug.
welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. I am honored to have with me today Mark Halawa. Mark was born into a secular Muslim family in Kuwait. Although his father was a non-observant Muslim, he was fiercely anti-Israel. But Mark had heard vague, jarring family rumors which proved to be true. Now Mordechai Halawa shares his remarkable story of personal discovery here with us on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Welcome back to Chicago and welcome to the show, Baruch haba. Tell me a little bit about what those jarring stories you heard when you were growing up for our viewers here. Obviously, there was something going on with your mother's side of the family that you kind of got a little drift of.
Okay. I just came from home right now, from Florida right now, and had these conversations with my mom. It wasn't just a common story. It was known that my grandmother was Jewish and left her family and right away with my grandfather went to Shechem, or what we call it in Arabic, Nablus. Which is in the West Bank, a city in the West Bank, and most of my mom and most of her siblings were born there. I didn't even know that my mom was there for 10 years. She grew up there. She just told me literally. My grandmother had pictures of her family, had birth certificate, had a part of a prayer book that I thought is a prayer book. I don't even know if it's a prayer book or not. It had big block letters. It looked like a prayer book from what I remember and what I see now. So the idea was that she was Jewish. But later on in the future, fast forward 25, 26 years, when I was at university in Canada, to learn that by Jewish law, if you're a Jew, your mother is Jewish, that was the punchline. And that was the life-changing.
But according to Muslim tradition, if your father's Muslim, you're a Muslim, right?
It is true, but we were not Muslims. If you want me to explain to you the type of foods that we
It was a secular Muslim.
No, we're not secular.
Not even that.
The English or the North American way of seeing things, like somebody's belong to this religion, but he's secular or he's observant, or in Jewish circles, this is how people see it. My dad was an atheist. Really does not believe in a God. Does not believe in books and all. He thinks just prophets are a bunch of humans that lied in order to get people a better life.
And so when you discovered these things, what was your how did you pursue? What was your interest? Where did you go? What did you do? Because you were learning in Canada at the time.
I was studying in Canada, university in London, Ontario, Canada, in a University of Western Ontario. The first thing that came to my mind was obviously Israel and all what I heard about Israel and Jews. I hated Israel, and now I belong to this group of people that I hated. It wasn't like, I was engrossed in practicing some religion, or at least lightly, and suddenly became interested in this other religion. I was not interested in the religious part, to be honest, but I was curious to learn, what do Jews do? What do they pray? How do they do things?
Tell me just a little bit about growing up in a Muslim society of Kuwait. Obviously, it is a Muslim society. When you grew up in Kuwait, do they coerce you at all in a religious way? Because your father was able to be an atheist, as you said, living in Kuwait. Did you feel any pressures upon you growing up?
No. I mean, you have to go to school 6 days a week back in my day, in the 80s. You learn how to pray, but there's no prayer in my school. I went to a private school. And my father does not wake me up at 5 in the morning and take me to the mosque, nor does he allow me to go to the mosque on Fridays or with my friends. And it wasn't like I really wanted to go to mosque or had any inclination, and my dad was horrible, not at all. We were actually lucky in a very religious country to be free. My dad had a full bar in Kuwait. To get an alcohol in the country is very difficult, but that was his thing, him and his friends, And we traveled the world and we saw everything. But when it comes to religion, whether it's Jewish people, Christians, or Muslims, or anybody else, just like, okay, those people are just You know, not free, not well, not.
No, I understand. Did you stay in touch with any of your friends from growing up? Obviously, you had friends in school growing up.
Look, in my time, I mean, there was no. I'm probably a little bit. I'm older than I look a little bit. There was no Facebook and there was no emails and all. But I looked people up on Facebook. Some of the people that I remember by names, and and I've seen some people, bumped into people here and there when I traveled, in Dubai, and in Jordan, but I couldn't say a lot. And you can't keep in touch with these people,
When you approached your mother
It's
about
embarrassing a little bit to my family, embarrassing to them.
when you approached your mother and talked about your grandmother and her heritage, how did your mom respond at first?
Well, first of all, my mom just pointed fingers at, oh, maybe this person you met is a missionary trying to get you to, And I understood. I also thought the same thing when the gentleman told me that, because I've been through these situations before, and I usually think it's a compliment that somebody wants me to, join their religion or their church or whatever it is. But I never take anything serious. But what this guy told me, I mean, there was heavy talk, and let's give him a name. His name is Dr. Yitzhak Block.
I know Dr. Block in Canada.
You know him
I
personally?
know him. Yes, I know him personally. Sure.
Right.
I have a friend who was the rabbi. I think I mentioned to you the first time I met you. A rabbi at the synagogue in London, Ontario, at the Orthodox synagogue. He was at that synagogue. For about 2 years. He was rabbi there, 2 or 3 years.
All right. So
I met Dr.
I'm
Block.
glad that you met Dr. Block, and you understand how he speaks. He's a man of wisdom, and he speaks softly and nicely, and he doesn't come off as the person who's just trying to recruit you to join his religion or whatever it is. He was just stating a fact, and he stated everything clearly. He goes, after we had a conversation, first thing he says to me religiously, he goes, by Muslim law, you're a Muslim. I'm like, well, where did you get that from? Because I don't like being called Muslim, because we were not Muslims then. My mom today is a practicing Muslim, really. Yeah, I was with her yesterday, she was wearing a hijab, which is fine, I respect everybody's beliefs and all that. My dad was not a Muslim, and we were not Muslim. My sister today is not Muslim. She might tell you, if she talks to you, knowing that you're Jewish, oh, you know what, I'm a Muslim, just to give an identity. But nobody's Muslim. Nobody's religious, nobody practices anything.
Right. Well, it's like sometimes you might find someone who's Jewish that says, well, I'm Jewish by heritage, but I'm not religious or something like that. Yeah,
religious or don't want to be religious or practice. Same thing. So after that, after he goes by Muslim like a Muslim, and I fought him on that one, I battled him, and he ended up by saying, but your father's Muslim. No? I said, yes, he is. He was born into Islam, sorry. He's like, well, that makes you a Muslim. I was like, yeah, you're right, okay, I guess so. Then he jumps back at me again, he goes, and by Jewish law, you are a Jew. I'm like, holy, this guy is, trying hard. So this conversation developed. I told my mom, so my mom tells me he's a
missionary.
A missionary of some sort. I said, I thought so, but I went to Google, and Google says the same thing. So my mom went back and forth with the idea that my mother, my mother's father, my grandfather, my dear grandfather, God bless his soul, is a Muslim. And I'm born to him, and we go by the father, and end of the story. There's no conversation there. Of course, I asked still about what I read and what I understood. She's like, okay, that's the reality. Why would we go by the reality? And I understood, it's not, I'm not sure how to say it. It's just an odd thing to think about when you're 26 years old. If I grew up with it, I would not have thought about it twice. But here, I'm going to sleep and I think about the topic. I wake up in the morning and it's not a dream. I'm still a Jew in a way in my mind. It took many months for me to act or react on this. I didn't go to a next door synagogue or Chabad house to put tefillin on immediately. But my curiosity grew a lot. All I could think about was just Jewish, and look at people, and who's Jewish, who's not, and what do Jews do, and research everything, Israel, whatever music that came, I don't know, where's it from? I was just like absorbing things. And I wanted more knowledge. And at some point, after an accident that I had, I fell off rollerblading and cracked my arm. I woke up in the morning, Saturday morning, I'm having my coffee and my painkillers. And I remember that Dr. Block said there's a synagogue in London on this street, and he said, come on, Tom, and I understand they go to pray on Saturdays. So that was Saturday morning, I took a taxi and I decided to go see what they're doing. I walked in, and that was really pure, just wanting to piece things together. I want to see how they pray, if they pray, if they give a speech. I want to see what the speech is about, what they talk about. Is it political? Do they do the same thing that we do, incite against? I just wanted to see it. I'm telling you this as,
Because you had no exposure.
this was the exact thoughts of my mind. I thought, it sounds ridiculous. Like it was like some sort of a flea market, like something in the morning, like maybe people meet on a weekend and sell. I've seen this before at churches. So I thought it's the same thing at a synagogue. So I went in and people were finishing prayer. Somebody handed me a siddur and they were singing later on Vishamru Bani Israel. The song is Beini B'ben Bani Israel. That kind of made me meditate on this a little bit. I found myself staring at the prayer book. Yes, between me and the Jewish people, there was a sign forever, whether it's the rabid anti-Semitism that, is in front of your face everywhere you turn in Kuwait. Kuwait is a very religious country and a conservative country. For some reason, they're attached to this whole Palestinian thing a lot. So they justify it. Caricatures in newspapers are almost daily, cartoons, things they hear in the classroom. So, yes, there's been a sign between me and the Jewish people ever. Even anti-Semitism was one of them. My mom's best friend, Rivka, who lived in Kuwait. My grandma and her stories and family and all. And now, Israel, Canada, there was no Israel at that time. Canada, and Dr. Block and the whole interaction, and what I'm learning on Google, and the conversation with my mom and my grandmother. I met some people. I met Dr. Block at that shul that day. He introduced me to some people. Introduced me to the rabbi. Just normal, curious, open people that just, told me about themselves. And I saw people at a human level. I met somebody that was from Egyptian background, somebody from Yemenite background, this one lady, my age. This other guy, my age, also from an Indian background, but originally from Iraq. So it was just a whole thing that happened super far. I didn't even know there's such thing as Yemenite Jews. My research didn't reach that far. Or Iraqi Jews, or Egyptian Jews. Egyptian Jews was a big shocker. So it took me in. Of course, there were people from everywhere else also. There were people from Europe and Poland, and there was Hungary, I remember. Then I met the rabbi. The rabbi was nice also, like Dr. Block was just, Ended up going to a synagogue the first time. The Shabbat lunch for the first time. Then I discovered, just like today, it was the Shabbos before Purim. And I was hearing about the story of Esther and Mordechai, and that gripped me because, that's the story of us growing up. You plan about, destroying the Jewish people everywhere around the world, altogether, hopefully, so we don't fight with them anymore. And the whole thing was done again. What was done in the past, 2,500 years ago, and Haman wanted to destroy the Jewish people. So I was really gripped with this, and I was embarrassed and shy to stay towards the end because I thought Haman got his way and killed the Jews. But I liked the parts, that was building up to the story, and I liked the character of Esther, loved Esther very much, loved Mordechai very much. And, but the story kept going, and I thought it's going to end badly, and I left. I read about the story more, and I discovered that, the evil of Haman turned against him and his children. I was happy, and I was proud that I went to that shul that day. I ordered the same siddur that I was handed, an art scroll siddur, little one, small one, brown one. And from there, the journey started, and was sporadic. It took many months in London, Ontario, and then later on I went to Toronto for school. And it took, yes, I was lucky, and sometimes I was in the right place, right time, but I did not, again, come from a religious background. I'm not religiously inclined usually. And maybe that helped me, because I was like an open canvas. Like
you didn't know you were searching, but deep down, you were searching.
I like the godliness part and the connection. I like that a lot. And the way Judaism presented it was nice. God is merciful. God is your partner, your father. Your neshama comes. All of us come to one neshama from Hashem. I like that thought. I'm not gonna speak in a way which I would, sound like I'm negatively criticizing Islam, but Islam altogether has a lot of great stuff to offer. But the fear-mongering in Islam is really strong, and I'm talking within Islam itself, not against people, just within Muslims. The idea that you get punished to death, and there's a hell, and you're going to be punished again, and given life again, and burnt again. I don't like that thought. But God is merciful, and I get chances in life, and there's many chances throughout the year, and you change yourself and atone, and it's a good thought. Yeah, I work myself this way.
So I'm curious, in growing up in Kuwait, you went to a private school. Did they teach Quran there, like in Israeli private schools or non-religious schools? They still teach Torah, in the school, even if it's not on a religious level?
No, you have to. It's a part of the curriculum to teach Arabic and to teach Quran, of course, studies. We had a day, so we learn Islamic studies on different days, and also we had a full day for learning and reading the Quran professionally, which I was pretty good at, because it was a topic you need to score on that topic. I was pretty good at that, because I'm good in grammar.
So you know it pretty well, overall?
I don't know Quran by heart pretty well, like other people, because I didn't have to memorize it for prayer and all, because we didn't pray. But I know some things, and
you know the history, the historical facts.
Very lightly. I don't claim to know a lot. Very lightly.
So here you are. You went from London, Ontario to Toronto. You're in Toronto studying. How did that blossom into you going to Israel, which you did?
It took a long time. During my university studies, my university was in downtown Toronto, still downtown Toronto. It was called Ryerson University at the time. Now they changed it. I don't know what the name is. I was going to a synagogue in Chinatown, also downtown, almost every single Friday morning, sometimes Saturday. I just loved and enjoyed and celebrated that part. I was a Friday night guy, and I used to go there and just say, listen to the stories and dive with everybody, sing with everybody. It was there, a little bit of Karlbach scene over there, which I liked. The rabbi was fantastic. He's still fantastic. God bless him. Rabbi Shmuel Spiro. And I made some friends there. So there was like a little community for me.
Camaraderie.
All I knew in Toronto was that camaraderie, that chevra that I had over there in that shul. So that continued. And from there I met somebody who lived in my building apparently, who used to go for studies at Chabad Yeshiva on Tuesdays. So I went and joined, and the topics were of interest. I'm interested in anything related to food. So we're learning Kitzar Shulchan Aruch, and things continued, led to another. Then during the time that I started working after, there was demonizing Israel, and kids were, this is before the BDS movement, they started something called the Israel Apartheid Week, and I heard people were having a hard time and slashing people's tires and knocking kippahs off of people's heads. So it was not pretty. It was really, really rough, and it decided I want to show up. I grabbed myself a big cardboard box and I wrote on it, "Free Palestinians from Hamas." And I stood there and argued with people and talked and I told people, everybody literally came to attack me, thinking I'm just a genuine Israeli. And I was like, hey, I'm a Palestinian, how about that? Let me tell you my story. And let me tell you the story again. And the story was, Hamas, an organization that is a terrorist organization, even that by Arab and Muslim standards, that have been sending around 8,000 rockets or something like that in 2 years. And when Israel responded, their protege Qatar went ahead and just kept showing these videos again and again, inciting, and now we get all these people pretending they're Palestinians. Some are from Pakistan, some are from Bangladesh, some God knows from where, some are Canadian, they've never been from anywhere else, and they're pretending that Palestinians are coming over to attack Jewish kids. And people just, were on my side. People were listening, and there was a lot of support. The Canadians are standing there, even students that are not affiliated are there in the back, and those are the ones I want to reach to. And people were listening and saying, thank you for saying this is vicious. Arab students came to me. There was 2 guys particularly, one Egyptian and one Jordanian, who were like, we live here. We're Arab, and we know this is all nonsense. This is an organization, well organized, and God knows who's funded them doing this. Thank you for speaking out, because we not all of us are haters, Jewish haters. We live in Canada. Canada is a nice country where people get along. This is foreign to Canada. I'm not saying anything in contradiction of America, but just Canada is a very relaxed country when it comes to, you know, differences and backgrounds.
Almost no gun violence in the whole country compared to...
Every background and religion and color and creed on planet Earth is in Toronto. It's not organic to pick and choose on a certain, you know, on Jews really particularly.
Tell me about your travel.
That got me invited to Poland and invited to Israel.
So you went to visit Israel on an invitation?
Yeah, after I met somebody through that trip, and then his rabbi, his name is Mark, also Mark Zalonka, studied at University of Western Ontario, invited me to go to Poland and Israel, spent 5 days in Poland touring. I just learned about the Holocaust.
You never heard about the Holocaust at all in school when you were a kid?
Where am I going to hear about Holocaust? Not in Kuwait, not in the 4 years that I lived in Jordan. Nobody teaches about the Holocaust. I don't even know about World War I and World War II. I don't know if Germany was the good guys and England was the bad guy. I have no idea, literally. I know what the heroism of 15 guys on horses from this tribe in Kuwait that won against I don't know who and then got the way to independence. It was shocking. And again, it's the hate, similar to the hate that I grew up with. But this was actualized and turned into a Holocaust, turned into violence, and turned to, you know, organized elimination of an entire nation or entire race. After touring nonstop of Poland, we went to Israel for 3 weeks. That's where I fell in love. And I think it was very important that I went to Poland first, then to Israel, literally one after the other. I flew from Poland to Israel. I was shocked in Israel, to be honest. I don't know who's Arabic, who's Jewish, with all respect to all. Everybody looked the same to me, and everybody sounded the same in a way. You have to really listen carefully. Who's speaking Hebrew, who's speaking Arabic? Sometimes you speak in Hebrew, he's an Arabic person too. And people walking together, not like how people are telling us. You know, I imagine, even though I was pro-Israel, and I just covered my background and all, I thought Israel was apartheid. I truly believed it. Because everybody's telling me apartheid. I thought maybe it is for security purposes or something. But I went and saw it. It's like a party happening. And I celebrated that. You know, every day you feel a mental expansion over there. Just you feel that you're learning something new. I loved Israel, and I made a dream a wish, thanks to my mom's, you know, advice to go pray at the kotel for a wife. I made a wish that, please God, like those ladies that are walking the streets of Jerusalem, maybe allow me one day to meet one of them. And I came back here after for yeshiva to study. 8 months turned into longer. And through that period, I met my wife, and everything takes years here. Met my wife years after, and knew her for over a year, and then we got engaged, and a few months later we got married. Next thing you know, we're under a chuppah. And all my friends from my life, my journey, came over to join me in my simcha.
Where did you get married at?
In Jerusalem, in a place called, in Jerusalem, it's a very special, nice place, Nes Harim, just outside of Jerusalem. So your chuppah area is overlooking the mountains, and you see Jerusalem and all its lights there. So it was really beautiful. It was a great reminder that you're in Jerusalem. Sometimes you forget you're in Jerusalem when you're there. And thank God, and Hashem blessed us with a couple of daughters, a couple of girls so far, and my life is going on, the party is happening.
Unbelievable. So what year did you go on Aliyah officially to live in Israel?
So I did move to Israel in 2010. I was not planning to live there. My wife wanted to stay there and for the children to go to school there in the future, so it kind of developed that we stayed there. I just made Aliyah literally a couple of years ago.
Really? So tell me just in your own, what inspired you to tell your story? You're now telling your story all over the world. You've traveled to umpteenth countries to tell your story, all over the United States, all over Israel. How did you come out as, I need to tell my story, this is what I need to do, this is my calling? How did that come about? Who encouraged you, or how did you jump to that move? Because that's what you're doing now. There
was an encouragement. I thought first, back in the day, I didn't know that I could speak and travel, but I thought I would share my story because I learned later that Dr. Block have touched many people's hearts with he's a man full of wisdom and well-spoken and very relaxed guy, man of the world also, You know, he's a professor at university. He's been in the university halls and all his life. And I heard of his story with the Rabbi also. The Rabbi wanted him to continue his studies. And he was encouraging people and rabbis, okay, I don't want you to become a rabbi right now. Go and become a PhD professor, then you become a rabbi. So that idea, just to be in the world and maybe spread some positivity. And at least, you even want to speak a Jewish crowd only, okay, I'm not going to, you know. But give him, how can I say, first a chizuk sometimes, good to expose people to stories that are different. At the same time, tell them about the Middle East. I always tell people, the Arabs have a big heart, you know, great people, great culture, this and that. Unfortunately, a lot of people are brainwashed with politics. Really, the average person, even if he's brainwashed with politics, will come to America or Canada, you'll see him at the grocery store. You talk to him and be like, hey man, I have nothing against you. As a matter of fact, we have the same diet. You know, where do I get kosher meat? A lot of people talk like that. It's just unfortunately, it's politics. But today, things are much better than before, I think, in my humble view. With peace agreements happening, even before that.
Unbelievable. It's a miracle. Yeah. If you talk about the countries, the Arab countries that make peace agreements with Israel, now they have synagogues and kosher food and hotels that are kosher there for travelers.
Even the countries that did not make peace. I just took a rabbi from Miami 3 months ago to Saudi Arabia for an event that we were both involved in.
And you were able to get kosher and everything?
I ate schnitzel every day for 5 days. Kosher. There was a rabbi there also. People want peace. People want prosperity. People want, you know, the world to work together. You cannot just be, you know, you cannot just boycott. You cannot block. And the more we reach out to others, explain who we are as Jewish people, or the Arabic, to reach to Arabic people and speak with them about who you are religiously, background, faithfully, God-wise, you'll discover that you're similar. There's no similarities. Maybe you speak English, you speak Arabic. Sometimes they speak better English than I do, or you do. People are educated. It's just time for the world to move on.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
That's all. Like really, but you asked me who started it. There's a guy. His name is Rabbi Yitzi Magalnik. He's a rabbi from Los Angeles, from Palos Verdes. He's a very special man. I like him a lot. He reached out to me many, many years ago. He said, "Why don't you come and speak to us?" You know. And I think I'm not sure exactly if this conversation happened or not, but you know, I heard from either him or from others that, you know, Dr. Block has reached out to many people, and you could continue that by speaking, by sharing the story and that interaction with Dr. Block, because people respect him, know he is. And that continued, Baruch Sherman.
Tremendous.
Word of mouth.
Tremendous. I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Hatzlacha, much continued success with all of your endeavors in sharing the word and how many people you've inspired. I want you to know I've had many people who've come to me to say, Rabbi, can you do a wedding? We want to have a mixed marriage. My wife isn't Jewish, but her mother is. Her grandmother's, her mother's mother is. Whatever. I said, you know, I can do this wedding. We have to meet though and talk about it. So you never know who finds out that they're Jewish long after they didn't know they were Jewish, because they find there's something in their background. Much hatzlacha to you. Thank you all for joining us. This was great. Mark Halawa, I wish you all the best and safe travels back to Israel. Thank you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. You can also see former shows on the web. If you want to send Mark an email, I will forward to him. Send it to info@tvrabbi.com, and I'm sure he'll get back to you personally. Hope to see you next time, right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need, you're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.